The Antonov 225 was the biggest airplane in the world, and we lost it last year. We're gonna find out what happened today in the hangar. Welcome to In the Hangar. I'm Christy Wong.
And I'm Dan Milliken. In the Hangar is sponsored by some great sponsors, so check them out in the description below. We'll talk a little bit more about them at the end. The Antonov 225 was the biggest, most beautiful plane, and we lost her in the war in Ukraine. Joining us, Max, I really appreciate you coming on board. Ukrainian, you've been there. You're here to give us a report on what's going on.
Thank you for having me first. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity to be here with you guys. And aviation's like a big family, so again, appreciate it. My name's Maxim. I was born in Ukraine, in Kiev, back in '99. Came here when I was a year old. And when the war started, I did a lot of frequent trips with volunteer work and also enlisting as well.
So you are in the Ukrainian Air Force, is that correct?
I enlisted in the Ukrainian Air Force, but so far they're not having me fly or anything like that. So essentially, whenever we have more airplanes, there's just a huge line, and not just in the Air Force, but in artillery, tanks, where we just don't have enough equipment to support the more personnel.
Oh, wow.
So you got a line of people who have enlisted and skilled pilots and tank operators or whatever. They just don't have planes and tanks.
They have pilots, no planes. They have tank operators, no tanks.
The opposite problem of our airline industry today.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Okay.
Not a pilot shortage, a plane shortage.
The plane shortage, yes. But first visited in January because of all the drama with all the equipment lining up on the border. I just went there to see friends and family just in case, but at the time we didn't think anything would happen. Yeah, we've seen bomb shelters being put up, but we thought it was all, political and just to be safe than sorry. But on the 24th of February, unfortunately, the full-scale invasion has begun. And there's a really good book also from pilots from the Ukrainian Air Force, how they were already knew that it was going to happen on the 24th, where on the 23rd and also the 22nd, a lot of airplanes have been already fleeing the country out west because they were anticipating that the war would happen and that the massive scale attack would go into the center of Kiev.
Oh, so they knew it was coming,
Well,
basically.
then why didn't they fly the Antonov Miria?
Maria?
Miria.
Ah, I did it.
So why didn't they fly her out?
So essentially, at the moment they were doing like a C check or D check, essentially one of the engines were off and doing maintenance. However, there's a really good pilot on YouTube that's a pilot for Antonov, and he can talk more. Well, he has more information about it, but it was more down to management. And what this war really opened up for us is that there was a lot of people in high positions in management where they were collaborating with Russia. And it was more conspiracy, but not like the Department of Homeland of like Ukraine or like the or Secret Service of Ukraine. They were investigating, and the head of Antonov, there was evidence that they were collaborating with Russia, and also Motor Sich is another aviation company, also ties where they were giving information when the airplane would be there. And for the Russians, they wanted that because if they kill, because the Maria is one of the main prides of Ukraine, like Ukrainian engineering, just like for America, the 747,
right.
Stuff like that. So for them, it was really strategic to annihilate that airplane to hurt Ukrainian morale.
Oh.
And did it?
On the contrary, it angered us more, and it helped. So
it riled them up.
It riled them up. It added more fuel to our fight to stand our own and to defend our country.
Speaking of that kind of stuff, then you also have like the Ghost of Kiev legend.
Yeah.
How real is that?
So yes, the Ghost of Kiev is started from a pilot that did shoot down a lot of airplanes. It's not a confirmed number, but yes, the first days of fighting over Kiev, there was a lot of air battles, and usually modern air battles are BFM or beyond the visual range. However, they got so close where they were actually dogfighting. And there were videos all over circulating how they were dogfighting. And the pilot did unfortunately get shot down. So the pilot was true. They didn't obviously disclose name or anything like that. But the legend lasted longer, where other pilots would take that name to boost Ukrainian morale.
Okay, so it was more of a symbol.
Symbol, yeah.
Gotcha, where like the next pilot would just carry on the
Yeah.
torch.
And then eventually it would come out saying, yes, the initial pilot was shot down.
Is he okay? Oh, man.
Yeah.
What are the primary airplanes that the Ukrainian Air Force is using? Is it pretty much the same as the Russians?
Yeah, so we have the Su-25, which is for ground attack, similar to the A-10. We have the MiG-29s and the Su-27s, similar to like an F-16, to do more like air combat. And also, right now, most of the Air Force is in more western Ukraine, doing a lot of training and patrol. Also, sometimes when there's cruise missiles and air raids, when they happen, when they launch mass amounts of cruise missiles from Belarus or even sometimes from the Caspian Sea, they would launch those Su-27s or Su-25s to actually intercept those cruise missiles, because it's almost like an airplane. It's basically a jet engine and a rocket with wings.
And a bomb on the front.
And a bomb on the front, yes. So they would be able to shoot them down. And I talked to some of the pilots, and it's really long hours. They're really fatigued. So all those Part 121 regulations don't apply for fatigue for them.
The Part 117 regulations don't
Yeah.
apply for war,
Yeah.
apparently.
So
I wish it would.
10 hours of rest at least. And
Yeah.
but they were fighting hard to defend because the more missiles we could shoot down, the more civilians we can save. However, now we have more of air denial on both sides, where Russian pilots can't really fly and we can't really fly. So we have like our own. So we're able to not have air dominance, but it's better to have air denial, where both sides can't really utilize the air to change the course of the front lines. And also it's interesting too, where they would also use GPS jamming as well, especially near the front lines, where a pilot was flying and his GPS say that he's flying over Poland or over Berlin. So they would have to go back to the old days, paper charts and dead reckoning, all that stuff, to just navigate in and out as well.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Pilotage.
You hear all sorts of Russia's winning this and Ukraine's winning this. What's going on over there right now?
At the moment, yes. So Russia was hoping to have a regime change. So we had Viktor Yanukovych, the one that we kicked out because he was pro-Russian, back in 2014, and that's when officially the war started, after Russia illegally annexing Crimea and then sponsoring the war in Donbass. And then he just decided that, we're going too close to Europe, and that's where he wanted to swiftly come in for 3 days, change the president, and then, have all the military back off, maybe take for us, oblasts is like another word for state. So like we have 24 states plus Crimea. So like America has 50, so we have 24 plus the autonomous region. So that was their plan, but now that it's a full-scale attack, we were able to have a lot of progress in the spring, where we and summer, where we took a massive chunk in the Kharkiv area, and but now it's just the artillery is a stalemate at the moment. So the front line is essentially stable. Right now, there's just a lot of heavy fighting in Bakhmut, and but that's just temporary, because now they're doing a mobilization. Where they need more Russian soldiers just to staff it. Because our tactic of fighting is using qualified and skilled soldiers, qualified training, and they will not sacrifice their own men just for a gain. So that's why when Russia is currently getting some gains near the Bakhmut area, that's not because we don't have enough soldiers to fight. It's just strategically it's not worth it. We actually try to save our soldiers as much as we can, while on the contrary with the Russians, they just send in waves and waves of soldiers. And the Ukrainian soldiers are still shocked of just the mentality, because all those soldiers, they don't want to fight. And if they go back or run, they'll just execute them because that they would flee. So the only way you would come back is if it was a Russian victory or, unfortunately, not alive anymore. So that's the difference in the fighting there. But right now, for us to change the tide is just more equipment, because without the foreign support, without the intelligence, without the HIMARS did a lot for us to be able to gain some territory back. But we will not stop fighting until we get our total integrity of our borders.
Air raid siren. But the funny thing is that on my app, it said that it was over.
We're at a year in. What do you see? How do you see this resolving?
I believe it's going to be a military victory. A lot of Ukrainians are hoping that would be this year, and it was estimated that this would be not less than a year. So about a year and a half to 2 years. I'm thinking more on the 2-year mark. Right now in the winters, there's not going to be a lot of progress because of the harsh weather conditions, but we should see some progress during the spring and the summertime, and especially with the tanks now coming in, the Leopards and the Abrams, even though they're not the best in US, but they're still better than what we have. That would help and support our troops on the ground. So I believe it's going to be a military victory, unless if somehow, because with the current leadership in Russia, they will not stop. They have enough men to continue the status quo at the moment for probably 5 years or more. So for us, the sooner that we get the equipment, the sooner civilian lives are no longer lost, and the sooner we can finish the war. Because if we give even an inch back of land, that will show the international community that we will accept an old school World War I type of style where we can come in and forcefully take land with armed forces.
For the person watching this that just wants to help, what can they do?
There's a lot of organizations. For example, during the winter, like during the holiday season, we would also Christmas carol. Me and my friends, we went out and Christmas carol. We also had like a performance, like a religious performance, like for Christmas, where people donate money. So we did that. We raised up $14,000 for the armed forces. There's a lot of volunteer organizations to help. They could donate. In Ukraine, there's a lot of organizations to donate. So not only was I just enlisting for the military, I was also sending supplies, because with my profession, I have the benefit of being able to travel for a cheap cost. So while everybody else was donating physical money, some people would donate and purchase boots or for military gear, and I would directly fly it to Ukraine or to other volunteers to pick up in Frankfurt, Germany, or like in Poland. So those are the ways that I was able to help, but mainly financially. And I would also say just keeping the topic alive so people wouldn't forget, so that the conversation's still going. So that the best way to help is so that our politics is politics, but at least keep in mind that it's still going on, so it's not a new normal. But there's many volunteer organizations. We have soldiers that are injured that come to America to get fixed up for their injuries. So probably could link a few organizations to help out.
All right, well, we can list some in the description below. And you mentioned, because of your profession, I don't think we ever said what it was. You are an airline pilot.
Yes.
Okay.
So thankfully, when I was immigrated here, the land of opportunity, the land of dreams, I was able to learn from a young age to become a pilot. So started at 13 through the Young Eagles program, and then little by little, once a month it started, flight lessons, and then once I was closer to 17, got my private, went to school, got everything else, and thankfully now I'm with the regionals, working the dream job.
Yeah.
Dream job right now,
job, yeah.
definitely.
Right now, it is the dream.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and sharing with us what's going on in Ukraine and Ukraine aviation during this hard time. So, it's a tough situation. I appreciate you trying to do something for change.
I really appreciate for you guys having me, for supporting this topic, and I really appreciate the support, because without all your support, we would not be able to defend our homeland and defend freedom.
Absolutely. All right, you guys. Well, thank you for supporting our channel. We appreciate you liking, subscribing, sharing our content, and thanks to all of our sponsors.
Yes, and we can't do it without them. And supporting our sponsors supports us. We've got links down below. We're putting logos up right now. Go visit their website. Go buy their products and services. It really, really helps. They're all run by pilots, so we can keep it in the aviation family.
That's right. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time.
In the hangar.